Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Triple R channel, Ryan's Raw Reactions. We got another Bailey video today because I've been wanting to dive deep into the case of Gypsy Rose Blanchard, and I think it would be interesting to do this one, and I'll tell you why in a second. This video is 6 years old, and I know that after this, that Gypsy Rose Blanchard is free and she's out, and I feel like some people don't think she's super innocent. Now, I don't know a ton about it, but I've seen a lot of discourse online saying that no, Gypsy Rose, she's a murderer, blah blah blah. I figured it would be interesting to watch this video from 6 years ago, and then maybe I can find an update video to cover and watch some interviews and stuff like that. But figured let's start with the base story. I always just like I love Bailey's videos. Sometimes I want to watch a Rotten Mango video, but they're like 3 hours long. That's a really long time for a reaction. And I just enjoy Bailey and some of the length of her videos. So here we go. Gypsy Rose Blanchard, Munchausen by proxy or killer? Mystery. What's Mr.? I think she messed. Why is this MysterMystery&Makeup? Here we go. BaileySarian.
Today I'm going to talk about Gypsy Rose Blanchard. The story is crazy. It happened back in 2015. Yeah, I've been following the story since it first happened because it's just flipping crazy, okay? It's the craziest story. There's just like, what? You're kind of torn on how you should feel. Gypsy Rose Blanchard. Who is she? She is a girl.
There you go. Video over. Thank you, Bailey. I also know that she's gotten a lot of Gypsy Rose has gotten a lot of plastic surgery, apparently had a reality show, has been married, divorced. This will be a great video for the comments. I'm sure you'll have your opinions on this. Like I said, I like doing the initial deep dive so I can like, okay, here's the story. Now I'll get the updates and make my own judgment.
Great. We're off to a good start. So Gypsy Rose, she suffered from leukemia, asthma, MS. According to her mother, she had the mental capacity of a 7-year-old. She was in a wheelchair, an electric wheelchair. She had a stomach feeding tube.
Oh, I was going to say, well, I thought she had a stomach. Well, that's good.
She would sleep with one of those masks, the sleeping mask on that would give you oxygen.
CPAP.
Oxygen. There were several other chronic conditions that her mother reported Gypsy had. Oh, I guess I should start. Everything I use will be listed in the description box below. Oh, side note, I also wanted to mention that right now on Hulu, these exaggerated, but for the most part, it's great. And then there's a bunch of different documentary.
Pass through all these.
Mother, her name was Dee Dee Blanchard.
Dee Dee, she looks like a sitcom character.
She took care of Gypsy. So I'm going to start with Dee Dee first. So Dee Dee was Gypsy's mother. Her real name is Claudine.
Oh, that's a pretty name. Claudine.
I'm sorry, Claudine. But how can you not say that with an accent? Claudine.
Hey, Claudine.
And growing up, like, her family would say that Dee Dee was kind of weird, like low-key. Stealing, petty theft, lying. She always seemed to be like very manipulative. At some point in Dee Dee's early life, she would work as a nurse's aide. And when Dee Dee's mother was sick, she took care of her. It would be later on that the family would become suspicious that Dee Dee actually was responsible for their mother's death. But that didn't like come forward until way later.
Man, Bailey's really moving, already putting down the foundation within seconds.
And honestly, they didn't have much evidence. It was just more of like one of those, you know, they were suspicious. They believed that Dee Dee was poisoning their mother and also would deny her of food. But again, this is just what the family says, and there's really like no proof to support it. And when Dee Dee was 24, she ended up getting pregnant by this guy named Rod, and he was 17 years old.
Rod.
Now, Rod and Dee Dee decided to get married because they thought it was like the right thing to do at the time, you know, and then they...
Also, what a great movie if you've ever seen it, Hot Rod. It's so stupid, but I love it.
Had a baby, and they named their daughter Gypsy Rose. And then shortly before Gypsy's birth in July of 1991, that's...
Well, a year after I was born.
That's when the couple...
I'm old.
Separated. Rod was reported saying that he got married for all the wrong reasons. So once the marriage ended, Dee Dee took Gypsy Rose and they moved in with Dee Dee's father and her stepmother. So at 3 months old, that's when Dee Dee expressed that she believed Gypsy had sleep apnea and began taking her to the hospital where they had overnight stays with a sleep monitor, and it became very frequent. Like, they were at the hospital a lot. When she was staying at the hospital for the sleep apnea, they concluded that she did not have this condition. Dee Dee stood by the fact that there was just something wrong with Gypsy. Like, she just knew something was off. When Gypsy was 7 or 8, she was riding her grandfather's motorcycle, and they actually got into a small accident. She suffered an abrasion to her knee, and Dee Dee said that it would require several surgeries to treat it properly. She could physically tell that there was some severe damage that happened to her knee. From then on, Gypsy was confined to a wheelchair. Dee Dee told everyone that she needed a wheelchair, that she couldn't walk, her knee was messed up, and no ifs, ands, or buts, really. Gypsy stopped going to school in 2nd grade. There are some reports saying that she actually stopped going to school in kindergarten, but most of the reports say 2nd grade, so we'll just say 2nd grade. Dee Dee ended up homeschooling Gypsy because her illnesses were so severe that she just couldn't go to school. Okay. Now, at this time, Dee Dee and Gypsy were living with Dee Dee's father and stepmother, and during that time, Dee Dee would be making meals for their stepmother, and the stepmother just kind of started like getting really ill, just feeling really sick. During the
Dee Dee, they said the same thing about, she did that to her own mom too. I mean, either she is just a lousy cook, and there's some salmonella. Which, by the way, I used to think I was going to get that every day I ate something. I remember when I would eat cookie dough when I was younger, my mom would be like, "You're going to get salmonella," and you know what? No, I wasn't. My mom just didn't want me to eat all the raw cookie dough, and that's probably for the best.
Time Dee Dee was living with the family, she got arrested for some minor things, but one of them including writing bad checks. Then the family became suspicious. When Dee Dee wasn't around, their stepmom felt perfectly fine.
That's weird.
And they kind of put some pieces together. Dee Dee was poisoning their stepmom with Roundup weed killer.
Oh my God! Can you imagine? Like, oh, how's your omelet? Oh, it's tastes a little bit like weed killer, but no, it's okay. And Dee Dee's like, oh my goodness, Roundup? Does it taste like Roundup? No, it's just a type of cheese.
The family confronted Dee Dee, and so then she moves out with Gypsy to Slidell. So once Dee Dee and Gypsy moved down to Slidell, that's when her stepmother's health went back to normal. So everything was fine. This sickness that she had, I mean, they thought that she was dying. So Gypsy and Dee Dee moved down to Slidell. They lived in public housing, and they paid their bills with public assistance that Dee Dee had been granted due to her daughter's supposed medical conditions, and also from Rod's child support payments. He was paying about $1,200 a month to take care, the child support. Dee Dee and Gypsy would spend most of their time visiting various specialists in children's hospitals down in New Orleans, and also just seeking treatment of the illnesses Claudine, or Dee Dee, claimed Gypsy suffered from, which she now said Gypsy had hearing problems, vision problems, MS, and that Gypsy was suffering from multiple seizures a month. They put Gypsy on anti-seizure medicine. They got her treatment for her MS. They also helped with her hearing. They put plugs in her ears. I don't know of who chose these glasses, Dee Dee or Gypsy, and I'm not trying to shame, but they are like the biggest glasses you can find.
She got on the Jeffrey Dahmers.
And I don't know. Not that it matters, but it's just like what I feel like Dee Dee was trying to put on a show. Anyways, forget the glasses. So Gypsy, throughout the years, would go through multiple surgeries for different ailments that her mother said she had.
So it really just seems that Dee Dee is making Gypsy seem more sick than she is. Also, it's cute that the little monkey has the little breathing tube.
Also, during the time, Dee Dee would take Gypsy to the emergency room often, a ridiculous amount.
I've had friends in the past who have had moms that were like emergency room moms, where like if they had 100-degree fever, they'd be in the ER. If they, fell on their elbow in a weird way. They're in the ER. I don't know if you'd call that a helicopter mom, but definitely like an overly cautious. There's certain people out there that are almost addicted to health things.
For any little thing that Gypsy did. I mean, it could be something as small as like eating a piece of candy. She would take her to the emergency room. It was
Jesus.
just like
Oh my God. I'd be in the emergency room every day.
almost like a daily thing. And then in 2005, Hurricane Katrina hit. Dee Dee and Gypsy, they lost everything. So their apartment was completely ruined. All of their records.
That's sad.
I mean, you remember Katrina. It was just like everything was just chaos. Gone. Dee Dee would say that Gypsy's medical records, including her birth certificate, had been destroyed in the flooding. They were staying in a shelter that took in individuals with special needs. And then a doctor suggested that they relocate to Missouri because that's where there were specialists and stuff. Gypsy could get help. Gypsy and Dee Dee end up moving to Missouri. And then in 2008, Habitat for Humanity built them a small home. And this home had a wheelchair ramp. It had a hot tub. And it was
nice.
Just a really nice house. So this would catch media attention because it was the single mother of this handicapped child who has so many different illnesses. They lost everything in Katrina. They moved out to Missouri to start over. Habitat for Humanity now built them this house. So the media caught on to this and it turned into a very big deal. It also brought in more charities to help out, free flights to different doctor's appointments, trips to Walt Disney World, backstage passes to Miranda Lambert concert.
I thought you were going to say Miranda sings.
There's a photo of Miranda Lambert. She donated X amount of money to the family. Everyone was just showing their love to this family. Rod, Gypsy's father, was also trying to be a part of Gypsy's life. He would call her from time to time and try to speak with her. He would send gifts. Dee Dee was pretty controlling. She didn't really want a relationship.
I was going to say she seems like a controlling mom. I could just kind of tell.
Gypsy and Rod to happen. There's one instance when Rod had called for Gypsy's 18th birthday. Dee Dee had picked up the phone and Rod was saying, "I just want to wish Gypsy a happy 18th birthday." And Dee Dee told Rod, don't tell her that she's 18 because she thinks she's 14. Rod
what?
Thought that this was strange, but
okay, that is strange. That's weird. That's definitely weird.
Dee Dee was constantly telling everybody that Gypsy had the mental capacity of a 7-year-old, that she just was mentally not full. She wasn't there. Don't tell her that she's 18. She thinks she's 14. So we're celebrating her 14th birthday.
I don't know what to think about that. I mean, I guess maybe if you're protecting them, but then also at the same time, that's 4 years of your life. I don't know. That's interesting.
Because Rod's not there, Gypsy's life, and seeing her in real life.
I think I need to watch a lot more about this stuff to really come up with a judgment.
It just is
That's why I wanted to start with this base, laying the foundation down so I can at least get some, ideas of things.
Okay, I guess this is what's happening. There's no reason to really doubt it. Dee Dee would tell neighbors and also Gypsy that Rod was a drug addict, that he was abusive, and he was an alcoholic who never came to terms with their daughter's health issues and never sent money. She was putting in Gypsy's head that this guy is a really bad guy. You don't need to see him. You don't need to talk.
He was paying child support though, no?
To him, and you don't really need to trust anything he says if you do talk to him. Anybody who met Gypsy would just fall in love with her because she's small. She was 5 foot. She had large glasses on. She had a very high and childlike voice, which just gave the perception that she had all the problems her mother said she did. Her mother would shave Gypsy's head, make it look like she was a chemo patient. And when they...
That's super interesting. So she was shaving her head to make her look sicker than she is, if that makes sense.
Left the house.
I wonder if it's a mother thing here where it's where the mom was almost obsessed with her daughter to the point where she didn't want anyone else to be able to have control or for Gypsy to go on and like think that she could, you know, get a boyfriend or get a job or whatever. So she just almost tricked her into thinking she was incapable of that.
He would bring an oxygen tank with them, a feeding tube, which then just made people, I mean, you had no reason to question that this girl was definitely sick. There are tons of interviews where you could see Dee Dee and Gypsy out, and in these interviews you could always see Dee Dee is very close by holding Gypsy's hand or just like right next to her, and she always had some kind of grip on Gypsy. You would think, oh my gosh, Dee Dee's amazing. She's taking care of this, her poor daughter, who's so ill, sounded so sweet and so loving. She was always bragging about how amazing Gypsy was. And honestly, like, if you didn't know now what we know, then you wouldn't think anything of it. You'd be like, wow, she's so loving. She's such a good mom. But knowing what we know now, it's like, you can physically see her kind of controlling Gypsy because she's always like holding her hand, and it's like a form of control. It's weird. It's weird now, but she was, any interview, you'll see Gypsy and her mom like holding hands and just very close. Gypsy would be reported to say if she ever
That contour.
mentioned to
Looking good, got that sharp jawline.
her mom that she was not really that sick or she felt fine, that Dee Dee would give her hand like a really tight squeeze, which let Gypsy know, like, shut the fuck up, pretty much, is my assumption. But
That's so weird. Like, hey, I'm feeling good today. No, you're not. Oh, okay. No, I'm not.
Gypsy would also say that when they were alone, Dee Dee would strike her with an open hand or
Whoa.
a coat hanger.
Jesus.
So literally, she was mommy dearest. So finally, they go to see a doctor. He's a neurologist and became suspicious of the MS diagnosis that supposedly Gypsy had. He ordered MRIs and blood tests, which he ended up finding no abnormalities, so nothing wrong with Gypsy. And he asked
No abnormalities is wild. Not one.
Dee Dee, like, why can't she walk? She seems to have muscle in her legs. Like, why isn't she walking? And when the doctor brought this up to Dee Dee, it made her upset. She left and
She imagine a mom being upset that her daughter doesn't have MS. Can you imagine? Like, ma'am, great news. Your daughter is in great health and doesn't have MS. No! I need a second opinion.
and she never went back to that doctor again
There you
because he
go.
didn't give her the answer that Dee Dee wanted. So this made the doctor suspicious. Okay, well, what's going on? Like, everything seems to be fine. So he asked Dee Dee for some background records, but Dee Dee
She lost them.
said, oh, we lost everything in Katrina. So I don't have anything. So the doctor ended up making some calls to her previous doctors, and the tests that these doctors had run, also the MS was proven to be not a thing. Like, all the documents and the blood work and stuff, it showed that there was nothing wrong with Gypsy. So right there, the doctor is like, okay, there's something going on. The doctor ends up writing in Gypsy's report that he believes Gypsy does not have MS or any type of illness that he can find. The doctor believes Munchausen syndrome by proxy. He put this in his notes. Okay. Now, one of the frustrating things with this is that the doctor felt like there was something suspicious going on, but when he spoke to different colleagues, they pretty much told him to give up the suspicion because, you know, this family had been seeing the doctors for X amount of years. It was just like a highly respected and loved family that nobody would believe.
Yeah, they probably were like, hey, dude, this isn't a battle you want to fight. Especially if, like, you know, they're in charities and they've been on television. It's like,
Believe him. So don't even bother. There's a tip put out to the police from an anonymous caller. I'm going to assume it was probably the doctor, but it was an anonymous caller. Now, this caller told the police that they
I
believe
love watching her fade her eyeshadow in. It's like watching the sunset form off of the ocean.
Dee Dee was mistreating Gypsy, that she wasn't sick, that Dee Dee was using different names and birth dates for herself and her daughter. They suggested that Gypsy was in better health than they claimed.
Well, obviously Dee Dee was up to no good in general if she was poisoning her possibly her mother, Rod's new wife got arrested for, blank check or false checks, bouncing, and not the greatest track record. I'm so sorry, Bailey, for pausing there. Look, I'll match your face so you don't feel bad. Now my stance already is, okay, where does the fact that the mother is killed come in? Because so far, yes, this is not great, but does this warrant somebody getting murdered? I would say no. But let's see here. Once again, I'm a newbie with this one.
Officers who performed the wellness check, they accepted Dee Dee's explanation that she used the misinformation to make it harder for her abusive ex-husband to find her and Gypsy.
She keeps blaming poor Rod.
The file was quickly closed. It's so frustrating and so sad because poor Gypsy is just being taken advantage of by Dee Dee and was putting Gypsy on a ton of different medications. So they had every medication you can think of. When they did a wellness check, it was like Dee Dee had given Gypsy some medication that made her kind of drowsy and like drooling and stuff. And it just seemed like Gypsy was indeed mentally handicapped. Dee Dee, because she was a good talker, she was very sweet. She was always like 1 foot ahead.
It's almost like, where Jeffrey Dahmer said like he wanted to keep like a human as like a zombie and just keep him in like a sedated state. It's almost like she was doing that at times to keep her daughter like sick or establishing that she's sick, which is certainly weird. I'm sure we can all agree on that.
Of everybody, she knew what to say. She could persuade anybody, and why would she be lying? But poor Gypsy is just like, somebody help me, but unfortunately, like nobody could help her. Oddly enough, like I think it's odd that no other doctors would be questioning what was going on with Dee Dee and Gypsy. There was only one report of one doctor out of the hundreds that they saw. One doctor thought that there was something weird going on. So honestly, like I could understand that maybe nobody would believe him because everybody else has been going along with it. Why would everybody else be lying? Yeah, it's just weird that nobody else really questioned it. So then 2010 rolls around. Gypsy would use the computer when her mom went to bed. So I guess her mom would take like sleeping medication, so it would make her sleep pretty heavy. Gypsy would sneak onto the computer, and just internet was the only way that Gypsy really could escape. I mean, when you're a teenager, it's like you already start to get curious about boys or girls and just sex and dating, and you're just kind of like in this weird hormonal confused state. Eventually Gypsy would come across dating websites where you can meet people of the opposite sex, talk to them, potentially date. So one night when Dee Dee had gone to bed, Gypsy was on the internet on a Christian dating site.
Could it have been Christian Mingle?
And that's when she met Nicholas. So Nicholas was about...
Nicholas. There he is. Nicholas looks like he's up to no good there. Gotta trim the bottom of that beard there, buddy. It's getting a little wiry.
The same age as she was. What age, you ask? No idea. No idea how old she is. So Nicholas had some issues of his own. He had a criminal record for indecent exposure.
Nicholas! Showing off his Dickolas.
And a history of mental illness. His family said that he was autistic as well. Next door to Dee Dee and Gypsy, there was a woman and her daughter living there. Her daughter was 24 years old and occasionally would hang out or talk to Gypsy. Gypsy would consider her to be like her older sister. They didn't get to like hang out often because Dee Dee didn't like her and didn't really want them to hang out. Dee Dee didn't want Gypsy getting close to anybody pretty much. Gypsy ended up confiding in her and saying that she met this guy online, that she was going to marry him. The neighbor had told Gypsy to be careful. You just never know who you're talking to on the internet. It could be a predator. Yes, she just remembered that conversation, which would come into play later. So Gypsy and Nick, they ended up having their own like secret Facebook account. And on the secret Facebook account, they would share tons of messages. And that's where they were able to really talk, but like in private. That's when Nick would introduce Gypsy to BDSM. He was...
Jeez, hold on. We really went from 0 to 100 here. We really... Things just really progressed here.
really into BDSM and would tell Gypsy he had multiple personalities. So he had like a personality that was a bad guy. He had a personality that was a young child. One of his personalities was a werewolf.
Okay.
And that Gypsy would
howl at her.
Role play and pretty much go along with it. They would send pictures back and forth. So there were like tons of images.
Oh my goodness. Is that makeup, or either she didn't sleep for weeks to prepare for the role, or that's makeup?
Of Gypsy dressed up in different costumes and wigs, but I'm sure
she is licking a knife.
It was confusing.
That is a steak knife.
Hear me out.
That actually might even be a fish fillet knife.
Nothing wrong with like BDSM and stuff, like live your life. But when you're Gypsy and you've had like no background as far as friends go, relationships, she doesn't even have like a good like template to go off of how like a relationship works.
I also wonder how her education was, since she was homeschooled, but like, I don't know. Do you really think that her mom was like sitting there teaching her social studies? I mean, I don't know. We'll see. This is why you guys are elite, because you guys have a lot of knowledge that I then gain, and then you guys have seen how much my knowledge on the other cases has gotten exponential. I really do try to learn and, you know, take in what you guys tell me and then continue to grow here.
Could you imagine going from like 0 to BDSM?
Yeah,
and then on top of that,
that's a quick
remember
jump.
When you were a teenager and like your first love, oh God, your first love, it's like you're obsessed with this person. Nothing in the world matters, no matter what anybody tells you. It's so stupid. When you get older, you're like, dude, what was I doing? That's how Gypsy was feeling. Like, this is it. This is all I have.
Yeah.
Yes. So they would
I know that feeling. My first crush, her name was Brittany Coyle. Shout out to you. And she liked elephants. And out of nowhere, suddenly, my favorite animal was an elephant. Never was before, but it was then. Yeah, I actually love elephants. I actually want to be one. Oh my God, me too. No way.
communicate on Facebook in their like secret Facebook account and stuff. So eventually Gypsy wanted to meet Nick in person versus just communicating through these messages. So they came up with a plan to like meet at a movie theater. So Gypsy sent Nick money, and the plan was to have like a run-in at the movie theater. So Nick was going to show up to the movie theater alone. Gypsy was going to like strike up a conversation with him as if she had no idea who he was, and then invite him to come sit down with Dee Dee and Gypsy in the movie theater. And that was going to be the way.
Imagine like, hey, do you want to watch the movie with us? And Dee Dee's like, who is this? He's Nick.
To like intro Dee Dee to Nick so they could potentially date. Again, Dee Dee went with Gypsy everywhere. They never really went anywhere unless it was to the doctor's office. So meeting at a movie theater was like really the only way they could do it. So they actually went along with this. Gypsy and Dee Dee went to go see the new Cinderella movie, the live action one. Okay. And then Nick went as well alone. So he goes alone, and then they had like this.
Nick's like, I love Cinderella.
Run in, and Gypsy invites Nick to come sit with them. And then Dee Dee just doesn't like it. She's like, who is this guy? He's at a Disney movie by himself. Like, the whole thing is just kind of weird. It was later mentioned.
You're allowed to see Disney movies by yourself. Okay? You know, don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I don't care if you're a man, woman, 70, 30, 12, whatever. Well, don't go to the movies by yourself if you're 12. But you know what I mean.
And that Gypsy...
My mentality has always been this. Let people like what they like. You know? Just let people like what they like. That's all. If they're not hurting anybody. If they're hurting somebody, call the police.
And Nick, they snuck away to like the bathroom. And in the bathroom, that's where they had sex for the first time.
Jeez, in the bathroom of the movie?
In a bathroom stall. Nick would say...
Jesus. Seems like Nick was a little manipulative there. That's insane. He was definitely pressuring that.
That like Gypsy forced him to do it.
No way.
I'm confused because like...
I highly doubt that.
Both of them said it in an interview. I'm just confused, like, when they got
I need to see some of these interviews.
time to be away from Dee Dee. I just don't see when Dee Dee would actually allow Gypsy, like, out of her sight. But
Dee's like, man, they both must be going number 2.
I guess that's what happened. They had sexual relations in the bathroom.
That's nasty, though, bro. I'm a germaphobe. Doing the nasty in an AMC bathroom stall? No thank you.
Dee Dee had mentioned that she thought Nick was creepy, and, like, that was really the end of that. Gypsy and Nick still communicated.
See, now here's my thing is that, like, Dee Dee is obviously overprotective and was weird and abusive and bad things. But then it's like, okay, trying to protect her daughter from guys like Nicholas, like, to be honest, like a guy that comes in, starts getting her into BDSM, they start banging in the bathroom of a movie, so it's like, that's kind of why parents are protective. Obviously overstepping boundaries, this stuff with saying she has MS and all these things is wild. But I'm just saying, it's like, that guy is the type of person parents want to avoid their daughter being with. And how old did Gypsy think she was at that time? Did she think she was 15? Did he know that? How old was he?
On the internet, texting, messaging, whatever. Gypsy would tell Nick everything about what's really going on, how she's not really sick, that Dee Dee is pretty much holding her hostage. She can't escape. She can't get out of Dee Dee's sight. Just everything that was going on. So she, like, spilled everything. Nick would tell Gypsy, like, oh, I'll be your savior. I'll be your Prince Charming. I'm going to save you. I think it was probably brought up, like, oh, by Nick, do you want me to, like, kill her?
Oh, my God.
Gypsy wouldn't really go along with it. It's just kind of an idea, but it's not, like, a real thing that they're going to do. Anyways, so one night, Gypsy and her mom, Dee Dee, get into a fight. Gypsy ends up messaging Nick saying, like, okay, I want to do it. I want you to kill my mom. So
okay, this is crazy. This has really jumped to an extreme level here.
They had come up with this plan for Nick to kill Dee Dee so Gypsy could be free. So Nick came down.
Like, there are so many other options here, right? I mean, there are so many other options. Go to the police. Work, build up your own case. There's probably tons of proof. Or just like, hey, take me to the doctor. I want to talk to a doctor about this. And maybe they can, or maybe I can try to get emancipation. I don't know but isn't she like 19 at the time or something?
To Gypsy and Dee Dee's home, and Gypsy was messaging Nick saying, I have duct tape, gloves, and a knife for you. And
whoa, Gypsy.
And to be
okay, I think I see why people now are like, wait a second, because I think more stuff came out, but it already seems a little nuts here.
Be quiet, that the front door is squeaky. Yeah, she's ready. Nick would tell her to hide into the bathroom and cover her ears so that she wouldn't have to witness her mom dying. Nick ends up going into Dee Dee's bedroom when she's asleep.
Man, so Nick was just like down with no prep.
Up, she yells for Gypsy, and then he stabs her a crap ton of times.
Oh my God.
Gypsy reports that she heard her mom screaming, that she yelled for her name. So once he kills Dee Dee, they go back into Gypsy's bedroom and then they have sex.
Jesus. Oh my Lord, that's very bizarre. That's very bizarre. That's very bizarre. That's something.
Gypsy would say that it was forced. It was not consensual sex. But Nick would say, like, it was consensual. We agreed to it beforehand. Who cares about the sex at this point? Because, like, he just killed somebody, so not really worried about that part. Anyways, so they took about $4,000 in cash.
I'd be worried about it if it was unconsensual.
That Dee Dee had stashed. And then they left and stayed at a motel. And they have a bunch of luggage with them, so they're leaving town. They ended up mailing the murder weapon back to Nick's home in Wisconsin. That way, no one would find it at the murder scene if they did find Dee Dee. They took a Greyhound bus and they headed out to Nick's home in Wisconsin. Nick and Gypsy were going to stay at his house with his family, and Nick told his family that Gypsy was homeless, that she was being abused. On the afternoon of June 14th, Gypsy told Nick to use his phone to post 2 updates to Dee Dee's Facebook. Gypsy wanted some...
Damn, this is like elaborate stuff. Gypsy was really kind of masterminding this, huh?
Somebody to discover the body, because at that point it's been a couple of days and they hadn't heard anything about a body being found. And Gypsy was feeling kind of guilty that her mom was there and like nobody found her. So
I mean, yeah, that's very morbid.
he posted, "That bitch is dead." Great.
Well, that's certainly a thing to post.
Obviously, people like her friends and stuff on Facebook are replying like, "What movie are you watching? What are you talking about? What's going on?" Nick had posted something again, like in the comment section, saying, "The bitch is dead and I raped her daughter."
My God. I effing slashed that fat pig and R-worded her sweet, innocent daughter. Her scream was so effing loud, LOL. Okay, that dude Nicholas is insane. And that's a disgusting thing to read. Can you imagine being the friends reading that?
Something along those lines. This made people worried.
That's
what's
very
going
bad.
on? The next door neighbor and the daughter of the next door neighbor went over to the house and they knocked on the door and they got no answer. They were trying to look through the windows. The windows had like a film on it so no one could see inside the house. So it made it difficult to see if there was anything going on inside.
I mean, this has me feeling. It's like the part of me like has me feeling bad for the mom because of how it went down and because it was like obviously this Nick guy. But then it's like, okay, then there's the Menendez brothers, but that was like very serious, like SA and like disgusting things. And I'm not saying what Dee Dee was doing wasn't disgusting, and there were some physical abuse and mental things, but yeah, I don't know. It's just like, geez, man. This is pretty gruesome, and then the way they're going about it,
She found a window that was open.
I'm sure there will be a lot of comments, and the first comment on this video, like when I went to go like read the title, I glanced and saw a comment and said this aged poorly. So I was like, okay, so like I know I have a lot to watch in the future here.
And went inside. They had called 911 before going inside the house. And when she went inside, like the house looked undisturbed, like nothing looked out of the ordinary. One thing she did notice was that Gypsy's wheelchair was still there. If her wheelchair is still here, then where the heck is Gypsy? When police arrived, they got a search warrant and they went inside the house. Same thing, like everything was in place. Nothing looked out of the ordinary. But then they got to Dee Dee's bedroom, and then that's when they found Dee Dee's body. Now, because the Gypsy's wheelchair was still there,
they thought that there was like a kidnapping.
They thought that somebody came in and killed Dee Dee, but they also took Gypsy. This put everyone in panic. Like, Gypsy's without her wheelchair and all of that medication she takes. There's no way she's going to survive. So when the police
there was probably like a manhunt for her.
That's when the next door neighbor pulled the police aside and said, "Hey, I know about Gypsy having like a secret Facebook account and that she also had a boyfriend." Based on that information, when police went to the Facebook page from Dee Dee's posts, those weird posts, they were able to track an IP address. An IP address can find your location, like where something was posted from, based off of where your location's at. Wow, I'm great at explaining things.
Also, an IP, people think an IP address is an exact location. It's actually like an approximate location. Like you would say, oh, your IP address is Los Angeles. But you really normally, for the most part, can't find somebody. Like, people think like, oh, I have your IP address. Like, I can see your house on a map, or I can see your exact address. And that's not usually the way it works.
But this IP address gives away who you are, where you're at, and all that good stuff. So it linked
and all that jazz
to Missouri and where Nick was at. So
they probably thought they were getting away with it.
Police the next day go to the home. Both of them surrendered themselves to police. So police take Nick and Gypsy back to their home, and they have like a big welcoming for them because people are thinking,
oh my gosh, they're praising it.
Hey, they found Gypsy, like she's okay, she's safe, she's
true. I mean, here they think, is it this girl with MS and leukemia, and they're like, oh my gosh, she's just got kidnapped by this crazy guy and she lost her mom. It's like, nope, she helped orchestrate it.
Dead. But then the police do a press release type of thing where they're like, actually, not everything is as it seems. And please don't donate your money to this GoFundMe page because it might be a fraud or scam. So the media soon reported that the truth behind Dee Dee and Gypsy, and that Gypsy had never been sick and she was always able to walk, and that her mother was making Gypsy pretend otherwise. So this was shocking news to the whole town. I mean, this is the Golden family. This is the family that everyone's donated money and time to, and just like...
I'm surprised that Gypsy Rose didn't have like muscle atrophy from sitting in her wheelchair for so long when she actually could walk.
Supported and stood by. And so Nick and Gypsy were both taken to be questioned. Nick spilled everything. He was like, here's what's going on. Here's the truth. We've been talking. Gypsy asked me to kill her mom. It was the only way for Gypsy to get out. But
that's not the only way, but...
He stood by the fact that it was Gypsy's idea, that he did it, yes, but it was mainly because of Gypsy. And then in Gypsy's interview,
she probably blamed him.
There, and they came in and they're like, so Gypsy, your mom's been found dead. And Gypsy just like starts pretend crying, trying to be shocked like she had...
Is that an interrogation on YouTube?
No idea. And she's a terrible actress. Eventually, the person questioning, we know you're a part of this. Nick already spilled all the beans. Like, you're outed. Just tell us what's going on. Tell us the truth. What happened? So Gypsy goes on to say, like, everything that's been going on, how Dee Dee has been abusing her, how she's not really sick, she can walk, she doesn't need a wheelchair, and then it was Nick's idea.
So it's like Chris Watts and freaking Nicole, right? It's like Nicole Kessinger and Chris. She was the one that made me do it. He was the one that did. I had no idea. No, you had no. It's like, it's like that kind of tale as old as time. I'm surprised Nick didn't say he blacked out during it.
To kill Dee Dee, and she had nothing to do with it. Both end up going into prison. They have $1 million bond.
She legitimately looks like she's 10 years old there, and he looks like he's 30.
Media is losing their shit because, first of all, they're just finding out that, like, Gypsy isn't even sick. Like,
I can see why this was probably a huge deal, though.
What? And
like, if you were, like, a fan of that story and, like, oh, what a sweet family, and then all this happens, you're probably like, what?
Then they see her walking when the press releases the tapes and whatnot. They see that she's walking and she's perfectly fine, and the whole thing is just like what? Once all the information came out about how Dee Dee treated Gypsy for all of those years, sympathy for her as the victim of a violent murder rapidly shifted to her daughter as a long-term victim of child abuse. So people are getting all the facts now and seeing, okay, wait a minute, this isn't just a normal murder case. Like she was abused. Her mom was pure evil. The attorney obtained Gypsy's medical records and saw just...
I feel like I can see where people would be on both sides. Like, it's easy to feel bad for a child getting that kind of abuse and mental anguish. And then maybe there's the other side where it's like, well, did that mom deserve to be killed? Like, deserve to die? And that's without knowing any future knowledge. Oh, let me match Bailey's face here.
Everything.
But like, I get it. It's certainly interesting.
Right? He secured a plea bargain for second-degree murder. Gypsy accepted the plea bargain agreement and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Meanwhile, with Nick, it was different. He was the one who actually went through with the murders, not murders. He is technically the one who killed Dee Dee. So he had a more severe charge. In December 2017, the judge set Nick's trial for November of 2018. So this is a long-ass process. Like, Gypsy's case was closed in 2015. For Nick, it wasn't closed until 2018. Why the delay? No idea. I don't understand why it works like that. I'm sure someone out there watching will probably have the answer. Let us know down below in the comments.
See, look at that. Even Bailey, that 6 years ago, was reaching out to her audience saying, hey, help me. Why is this happening?
If you know why. And then his lawyers were saying, well, Nick is autistic and Gypsy is the one who suggested Nick go through
She manipulated him.
Pretty much convinced him to actually go through with the killing. Jurors had the option of finding Nick not guilty or guilty for one of the 3 murder charges: involuntary manslaughter, first-degree murder, or second-degree murder. It took the jury 2 hours to come up with a verdict, and they found Nick guilty of first-degree murder and armed criminal action. And then in February 2019, so just last month, he was sentenced to life in prison for the murder conviction. So both of them are found guilty. Gypsy is in prison for 10 years. Gypsy will be...
And that's not true now, because I think she got let out a couple years ago. So she only served, what, 5 years?
Up for parole in 2024, and she'll be 32 years old. Whereas Nick is in prison for freaking life, dude. That's insane. Turns out, if you didn't catch on, because I don't think I officially said it, Dee Dee was keeping Gypsy sick. Gypsy, after lots of testing, when she was in jail as well, the only thing they found wrong with her was her eyesight. Everything else was fine. She was normal. She's a normal person, and she had no illnesses, which is like insane. Dee Dee was keeping Gypsy really sick. There are images of Dee Dee's
Wow, that's crazy.
cabinet. It's more like a pantry, and this pantry is just filled with different medications. I mean, every medication you can think of.
It definitely seemed like the mom had some screws loose, especially with the poisoning of the other family, and then all that. This is a mess
in this pantry. And she was always giving Gypsy something. There was always something that Gypsy needed, and there was always something wrong with Gypsy. And this poor girl just like got older, she became a teenager, and she just couldn't flip and take it anymore.
So I think the way it seems now, the narrative seems is like it's not hey, this poor girl anymore. It's like, nah, she's a murderer, right? I mean, once again, I'm very curious about the comment section for this one.
Oh, actually, I forgot to mention, when she was on trial, that's the first time everybody heard that Gypsy was like 23, I think.
Oh, wow,
she was
okay.
22 or 23 years old, and people were like, she can walk, she's not 6, and she's like 23.
She's not 6? She did look 6, though.
She looks like she's 15, if that. So people are just losing their shit. A lot of people kind of find the conviction on both ends unfair, and I kind of agree. So with Gypsy, she should have to pay some kind of price because she went through with killing her mother, but I don't know. Her mom was controlling. Her mom was making her sick. Could you imagine? The only way out would be to kill her. She tried to
see, I don't agree with that. I don't think the only way out of that one would be murder.
Get away from her, and the system had failed her. Nobody was helping her out. She had nobody, and even if the police...
I'll never agree with like murder being the only or last option. There's always got to be a way, right? You know, there's always got to be something.
Came to the house, Dee Dee had the paperwork to prove that Gypsy is mentally unwell, and she, like, you can't believe anything she says. So poor Gypsy's just like flipping stuck, right? I feel like she went from one prison,
a tough one,
to another prison. You know what I'm saying? Literally, she did. With Nick, he's technically the one that went through with the murder. Yes, he should definitely have to pay, but like, I don't know if he should get life. I'm kind of torn on that one, too. There's so many things that could have been done, should have been done, but just weren't. Dee Dee's family even says she got what she deserved, which is
Jesus,
so sad to say about, like, your own daughter or sister or whatever, but
that's crazy.
They say it. There are, like, some stuff I left out of this video only because for time purposes. Anyways, let me know what you think down below.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot for you guys to tell me. And then there's more that I got to watch on this. But I wanted to open Pandora's box, if you will, on the Gypsy Rose Blanchard case, story, all of that. So this was me doing that. And then we'll advance this, and I will become an expert as I do on most of the other ones. This is just how I do it. If you made it to the end, thank you. I appreciate it. Like the video real quick if you don't mind. Hype the video if you have some points left. Leave a bunch of comments on this one and subscribe to the channel. That will help me grow here and get some more people in the Triple Army. If you'd like to join that army, turn on the post notifications. Hit show all when you subscribe on that little bell there. Click that. I'm on here Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Saturdays are the bonus shorter form videos around the 20-minute mark. And then the other days are longer videos. But that's it. Love you. As I always say, appreciate you. You know, I got your back if you got mine. Thank you for having my back and support on this channel. Please don't bother me while I'm watching true crime. Peace.